Welcome, sixth graders. Quickly, you are going to review some skills you've had some prior exposure to. Improper fractions and mixed numbers, as well as adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. Here are your learning targets. I can change improper fractions to mixed numbers. I can change mixed numbers to improper fractions. And I can add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers. Activate your brain. You have some prior knowledge. Let's go. Here's some vocabulary that we are going to review to activate your prior knowledge. An improper fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator, the top number, is greater than the denominator, the bottom number. Example of that might be 9/5. 9 is greater than 5. It's improper to sit on someone smaller than you. A mixed number. A mixed number is a number containing both a whole number and a proper fraction. So for example, 2 and 1/4. The whole number along with a fraction. So generally greater than 1, but has a whole and some parts in it. Like fractions are fractions that have the same denominator. For example, 3/8 and 5/8. Same denominator, different numerators. Could be the same numerator too, 1/2 and 1/2. If I was going to add them together, they have the same denominator. Unlike fractions, opposite of like, unlike fractions have different denominator values. So for example, 1/2 compared to 3/4, different denominators. Least common denominator sounds familiar. You also might hear it as lowest common denominator. This is the lowest common multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So for example, 1/2 and 3/4. Well, 4 is a multiple of both 2 and 4, so this could be rewritten as 2/4. Notice now they have common denominators. They are like fractions. So friends, here are the steps to change an improper fraction to a mixed number. The steps are to divide the numerator by the denominator, just like we would in a normal proper fraction. You're going to write down the whole number. How many whole times does our denominator fit into our numerator? And then the remainder, if we don't make it a decimal number, becomes how many are left over, and that becomes a numerator out of the remaining 5. So if you think about a fraction, normally if I had, say this was into thirds, and I colored in 1, that represents 1/3. If I had a full 1/3, full thirds, now you can see that represents 3 out of the 3. So collectively, all of this is 4 thirds, 4 pieces that are representing a third. So let's try it down here on the bottom. What we're trying to figure out is how many times does 5 go into 14? So you could set up as division, 14 divided by 5. I know that 5 goes into 14 2 times for 10, and there are 4 left over. So instead of writing remainder 4 like you used to in elementary school, we say that 5 goes in there 2 whole times with 4 of the 5 pieces we need to make another whole. So 14/5 is equal to 2 and 4/5. Another one to look at, how many times does 9 go into 44? 44/9. Well, another way you could do, again, your division there. What I like to say is 9 goes into 44. I know 4 whole times, which is 36. Notice, same thing, I'm subtracting. How many are left over? Well, that's 8. 8 of the 9 I would have needed to make another whole. And here are the steps to change in reverse a mixed number to an improper fraction, which you'll need this when we multiply and divide. So what you do is you multiply the denominator by the whole number. The reason you do this is because your whole number represents a whole of those pieces. So if I had 2, but it was broken down into thirds, I would say that, okay, this means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 third pieces. Notice I really have 2 wholes. Then you add the answer from the step to the numerator, and that becomes the numerator. Denominator stays the same. So I'll show you here in the examples. This 2 represents 2 4 out of 4s, right? 2 wholes. That's why instead of repeatedly adding 4 plus 4 is 8, you can really just do 4 times 2, which is 8, plus that additional 3/4 that we would have had. And that means that we have a total of 11/4. 4 and 1/5. Remember, this 4 represents 4 wholes, 4 of these. So instead of writing that out 4 times, I'm just going to multiply. Repeated addition is multiplication. 4 times 5 is 20, plus that additional 1/5 means that we have a total of 21/5 pieces.
Hi, 6th graders. Mrs. Greiner here. I'm going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. So the first thing that I want you to do is make sure you have all of these steps written down within your notes. So you can include them right after your notes from improper and mixed fraction notes. So the steps to adding and subtracting fractions. The first thing we need to do is rewrite our fractions with the same common denominator. Secondly, then we add or subtract the numerators. Then we keep the denominator the same, and then whatever our sum or difference is, we need to write it in simplest form. So if you need to pause me and write all these steps down, that would be great, and then come back and I want you to do these examples together with me in your notebooks. So we have 1/2 plus 1/6. I'm going to rewrite it right here. 1/2 plus 1/6. So the first step is rewrite the fractions with the same common denominator. So that means that I have to find a number that 2 and 6 can both go into. Well, 2 can go into 6, so really we only need to change 1/2 to 6. So I know 2 times 3 is 6. So whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So I'm multiplying my numerator and denominator both by 3 so that I can get 6 on the bottom. I'm going to rewrite this then as 3/6 plus 1/6. And all I did here to this fraction, the one that we changed, all I did was I took 1/2 and I just changed it to an equivalent fraction. So 3/6 is 1/2. I'm just rewriting it so it has 6 on the bottom so that we're able to add them together. So then our next step is add or subtract the numerators. 3 plus 1 is 4. Keep the denominator the same. So 4/6, and then we need to write it in simplest form. So simplest form, I find a number that they both can be divided by, or find their greatest common factor. So I know that they can both be divided by 2 in order to still get a whole number. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So then my answer is 2/3. So 1/2 plus 1/6 equals 2/3. Okay, then we have 11/12 minus 3/8. I'm going to rewrite this. 11/12 minus 3/8. So I need to change them to common denominators. I can't add or subtract fractions if we don't have the same denominator. So I, again, asked myself, what's a number that 12 and 8 can both go into? I know 12 and 8 can both go into 48. So then I asked myself, okay, 12 times 4 is 48. So I have to do the same on that numerator. And then I know 8 times 6 is 48. So then on my numerator up here, I do it times 6 also. So then I'm going to rewrite this so that I can keep it nice and neat and organized. 44 48s, minus 18 48s. Then I keep my denominator the same. So I do 44 minus 18 is 26. And now I need to write it in simplest form. I know it's not in simplest form because they're both even numbers. So even if there's another number they can both be divided by, I can see right away that they can both be divided by 2. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13. 48 divided by 2 is 24. So then 13/24 is my answer in simplest form. All right, so I would like you to pause the video and try these 3 problems on your own. So do them all in your notebook, change them to common denominator, show all your work, circle your answers when you're done, and then unpause, watch me solve them, check your work, make changes that, if necessary, if you made mistakes. So we have 8/9 minus 2/3. I know that 3 can go into 9, so all I have to do is change my second fraction into ninths. 3 times 3 is 9, which means that I'm going to multiply my numerator and my denominator both by 3. So I'm going to rewrite this as 8/9 minus 6/9, and then I just subtract my numerators. So 8 minus 6 is 2. Keep my denominators at 9, so I have 2/9. 5/6 minus 3/8. 6 and 8 can both go into 24. So I can multiply this fraction both by 4 to get to 24. This fraction both by 3 to get to 24. So now I rewrite it and I have 20 24ths minus 9 24ths. Make sure you did subtraction because it's subtraction in the middle there. 20 minus 9 is 11. And then we keep the denominator the same. That's already in simplest form. So 11 24ths is my answer. This one was in simplest form too, so I didn't need to do anything to that one. And then we have 7/8 plus 3/4. So again, I can see that 4 can go into 8, so I only need to change the second one. We're going to multiply them both by 2. So I rewrite it as 7/8 plus 6/8. 7 plus 6 is 13, and then I keep 8 on the bottom because we keep the denominator the same. We have 13/8, which is an improper fraction. Remember, an improper fraction meaning that the numerator is larger than the denominator. So now I need to change it because an improper fraction is never in simplest form. So I ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 13? It goes into 13 one time. And then I keep my denominator the same, so it's going to stay 8. But if I take out 8/8 from 13, I have 5 left, or 13 minus 8 is 5. So my answer then is going to be 1 and 5/8. 5/8 is in simplest form, so I can leave it just like that. And I'm just going to double check my answer here. If I go the other way, mixed numbered improper fraction, if I do 8 times 1, I get 8, plus 5, I get 13, keep my denominator the same, and I get 13/8. So then that checks out, that 1 and 5/8 would be the correct answer for that one.
Okay, so now we are going to be looking at adding and subtracting mixed numbers. It's very similar to fractions, but now we have a whole number involved. So step 1, rewrite fractions with the same common denominator. Number 2, add or subtract the numerators on those fractions. Step 3, keep the denominator the same. If you end up with a fraction that becomes improper, so the top number is bigger than the bottom number, you need to rewrite it, turn it into a mixed number, and then add it back onto the whole number. Add the whole numbers together and simplify. So we're going to do those here with some adding and subtracting. So the first one, find 7 and 4/9 plus 10 and 2/9, and then write in simplest form. So step 1 is making sure that our fractions have common denominators, which they already do. So now I can just add, I'm going to rewrite this here. So you can add the numerators together. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Keep the denominator the same. It's not an improper fraction, so I don't have to rewrite it. Add the whole numbers together. 7 plus 10 is 17. So 17 and 6/9, which I need to simplify. I can divide 6 and 9 both by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3, so 17 and 2/3. Now when we are subtracting, we have here 8 and 5/6 minus 2 and 1/3. And we're going to subtract and then write in simplest form. So I need a common denominator between my two fractions. I know that 6 and 3, they can both multiply into 6. So I'm going to multiply this side by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So my new fractions would be 8 and 5/6 minus 2 and 2/6. Now subtract the fractions. 5/6 minus 2/6 is 3/6. Subtract the whole numbers. 8 minus 2 is 6. I can simplify by dividing top and bottom by 3 on here. So then that would be 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 6 and 1/2. Okay, so here's where you could pause, try these 4 on your own, and then come back and watch. If you're feeling a little stuck, you can follow along with us here. So 5 and 1/5 plus 2 and 3/10. For some reason, we don't have a fraction bar there. I got to find a common denominator. I know 5 and 10 can both multiply into 10, so I'm going to multiply this by 2. Have to do that to the top as well. So then this would be 5 and 2/10 plus 2 and 3/10. Now add them together. Start with the fraction. 2/10 plus 3/10 equals 5/10. 5 plus 2 is 7. Got to simplify. I can divide these both by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2, so 7.5. Next one, 1 and 5/9 plus 4 and 1/6. Got to find a common denominator between 9 and 6. If I can't think of their least common multiple, then I could just multiply them by themselves. But I think, let's see, I know they both can multiply into 18. So to do that, I would multiply this side by 2. So then that would become 1 and 10/18. And this I would multiply by 3. So that would be 4 and 3/18. Add the fractions together. 10/18 plus 3/18. Add the numerators together. So 10 plus 3 is 13. Keep the denominator the same. And add the whole numbers. 1 plus 4 is 5. You can't simplify that at all, so that would be our final answer. On to subtracting here. 5 and 4/5 minus 1 and 3/10. Common denominator again would be 10, so I'm going to multiply by 2. So that would become 5 and 8/10 minus 1 and 3/10. Don't have to change anything there. Subtract the numerators. 8 minus 3 is 5. Keep the denominator the same. Subtract the whole numbers. 5 minus 1 is 4. This can simplify by dividing by 5. 4 and 1/2. Notice I'm keeping that whole number. When I go from here to here, don't lose that whole number. So 4.5 is my final answer. And last one. 8 and 2/3 minus 2.5. Common denominator between 3 and 2 would be 6. So to do that, I multiply by 2. So that would be 8 and 4/6. 2 times 3 is 6. So minus 2 and 3/6. Subtract the fractions. So numerators, 4 minus 3 is 1. Keep the denominator the same. Subtract the whole number. 8 minus 2 is 6. That can't be simplified, so 6 and 1/6 is my final answer. Okay. So it's very similar to adding and subtracting fractions. You have to have a common denominator. Just don't forget to include the whole number on there. Okay, that's everything for this lesson. Look back over your notes and make sure you have everything included. Title, learning targets, vocabs with the definitions, examples with the work. Check your understanding. Is this something that you could explain to somebody else? If not, go back and rewatch parts of it or try more practice problems. And then you can use your notes. You're going to have an assessment that you're going to do next, and also during Zoom sessions when we are working on this.